Muhammad, she's on the panel. Sister Elia Muhammad, she's on the panel. Sister Kava Muhammad, she's on the panel. And our beautiful host, who's also on the panel, Sister Alison Muhammad. So again, you are welcome to join us on the Zoom. Click on the link, and that way you can see all of these beautiful women and hear what is about to be discussed. Okay, thank you.
Praise be to Allah. So everybody that's on, welcome to Mary Come Forth Part 2. If you missed Part 1, oh my God, you need to go back and look at Part 1. Don't go back right now. Stay with us for Part 2, but later go back and look at Part 1. So I am so excited. After you all like the video, share the video, have a watch party. We want as many women on here as possible. We want to engage you in the conversation. We have lots of questions for today. We had lots of questions from yesterday, and we're going to try to get to all of them, but don't feel intimidated or anything. Put your questions in the comments. And the rest of the panel, if you can help me with that, because my view only shows Zoom, even though I'm going live, I can't see the comments. So just let me know if there are any comments there. We've already done the introductions, but we're gonna do something a little bit different, or we're gonna add to the introduction. Amazingly enough, these women are so amazing and so beautiful. We are still getting this thing where a lot of people, do y'all know, they think we just dropped out the sky? Like we just came down from heaven, we floated down. We just showed up as holy beings. And so based on our conversation for today, it's something how God works. It's a very spiritually led conversation for today. It really delves deep into the spiritual aspect of Mary and how important that is. And so we're going to start off really just familiarizing ourselves with the panel on the down to earth aspect of the panel. So when we go high, nobody will think, well, oh my God, well, maybe they're a little high for me, a little too high, or a little spooky or whatever. We need to know who we really are. Present, past, present, and how we working toward that future being perfect. So Sister Kava, let's start with you. Can you tell the audience a little bit about yourself other than the introduction that you gave on yesterday? Let me ask you this. Did you have a I don't want to say nickname, but people who know you very well, what do they call you?
Well, you know what? I wish I did have a nickname, because my sisters and everybody, they all have nicknames. But because my name is Kava, that is my birth name, and spelled C-H-A-A-V-A, no one could ever get it right. So they called me all matters of things. Chava, Chaava, Chaava, Ava, Haava, you know, and I pretty much answer to just about all of those. But what I can say, since we are going to get spiritual just a little later, my very first, before I actually got very close in terms of traveling with Mother Tanetta Muhammad, when I tell you she met me from the first time, and I did a fashion show at Savior's Day with her, and she renamed me Kaaba. Just like Kaaba.
All right.
Not only did she read it, and she's called me that ever since, and everybody who knows, they'll call me that affectionately, knowing that that's what Mother Tanetta called me. And it's actually my first picture in the final call modeling, and it says Sister Kaaba Muhammad. So I'm like, what are you talking about? So I will accept that nickname from our Mother Tanetta. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, praise be to Allah. Well, tell us a little bit about Sister Kava that most people may not know unless they really knew you closely.
Okay, yes. So unless they really knew me closely, they would not know that I had a small speaking part in Lean on Me, the famous movie Lean on Me, just real, real small. You know, Lean on
I
Me.
gotta watch that.
And Malcolm X. So back in my young days, I was actually in theater arts, so a playwright and stage manager, and I did a little dibbling dabbling in the world of film. That's one of my loves. I also love to dance, and I challenge all the young people at all the birthday parties. I challenge them for dollars, okay, because they have all them new dances out. So, you know, I pull out all my old dances and challenge them. So I love to dance. Let's see. I almost drowned. I love to travel. And I almost drowned in the Pacific Ocean twice, 2 times.
Oh,
How you almost drowned twice?
Twice, 2 times, 2 times. So, and the other thing that most people, unless they really, really know me, now here's something, is that I am definitely, I know we're not supposed to fear no one but Allah, but I tell you, I am definitely afraid of water bugs. I will cry for my mom. Snakes, I'm okay with. Other things, I'm okay. Spiders, but those water bugs, they will make me cry. So that's just a little bit about me, just the down to earth me, you know, baseball cap, love to be on a farm. I'm born in Brooklyn, but love the great outdoors, to be on a farm, and love my sisters. I'm just, you know, that's who I am outside of all of the spiritual stuff.
Awesome. We love it. Thank you for sharing that with us.
Yes.
Yeah. So we're going to go in who I see in order on the Zoom. Sister Naira, can you tell everybody a little bit more about you?
Well, let's see, what can I say? I kind of like the question, like, if you have to like really know me to know this. And if you really know me, like you in my circle, like for real, you know that I love Snoop Dogg. You know this hands down, right? You know that when I met my husband and we was like, it wasn't a courtship because we wasn't in the nation, but we was courting because he was in the Navy, he was in the military, and we was courting over the phone. However, you know, when we got to like becoming very serious, I told him he had to accept Snoop. My husband accepts Snoop, right? He knows it's number one, then number two. Okay, so that's that. You have to be in my circle to understand that love and to feel it, right? Okay, so that's good. That's that. As you can see, it lights up my world. Another thing that people, just to know me, I really love to bake. Like I'm a baker. I'm very creative. Like I don't know. I mean, I'm pretty sure it's something that I don't know how to do, but if I don't know how to do it, I like to find, I'm a researcher. So I like to try out different things and I love to travel. And I can be a bit of a crybaby. So you gotta be know that. Yeah, I'm a crybaby. So yeah, so that, and you know, just, you know, understanding for me growing up, talking about the past, you know, just as a young girl, experiencing so much trauma in my life. You know, my little brother was killed at the age of 2. He was hit by a car, and he and I was walking across the street, and I was 4. It could have been either he or I, you know, but Allah took him and spared me. We both was in the same path. We both could have been hit by the car. And, you know, just, you know, coming up, I always wonder when I got older, why did I have to go through so much? Like, why every time I turned around, I felt like it was something bad that was happening or whatever. But it wasn't until I found the Nation of Islam and being able to serve the women by Allah's permission for 20 years in his army, you know, with teaching and training the Black woman, that I found myself and I understood why Allah allowed me to go. you know, through so much at such a very young age, because, you know, I've come to understand in this world and in this life, people don't care about how much you know. They want to know how much you care.
Right.
And most times we can relate to our people when we done been through some things, you know, and going through those things and knowing that the only way you came on the other side of that, it was God himself, you know, that brought you through that process or those processes, and to come into the knowledge of God, you know, who we know now, to intervene in our affairs in the person of Master Fard Muhammad. I tell you, I've been born again and again and again.
Come on.
When I wake up, I do truly feel like I've been born again, you know. So I just thank Allah so much. I'm very grateful. I don't know. I mean, I'm pretty sure we all have our own story as far as gratitude, but I'm just like very, very, very grateful that I found the most honorable Elijah Muhammad and the honorable minister was Farrakhan, and to know God in person that intervene in our affairs. You know, when that question was asked yesterday about just feeling like you're not worthy, like I'm that girl, you know what I mean? Like still, even with having these teachings, I don't still see that I was worthy enough to be chosen in this hour. So every day I'm still trying to qualify myself to be in the number. So I never get comfortable with just saying, okay, I'm in the nation, if that makes sense. So to be in like the future, well, let me just say this, in the present time, I really love being a wife. I love being a mother, you know. I just love the domestic life. Like, I love that. That's just who I am. That's my makeup. But I did not understand that or find that until I was in the MGT class. And that was something that I had been searching for as a young girl, you know, with your fairy tales, but I got it. Like, that's my Cinderella story of being in the MGT and GCC class. And my future self, you know, as I'm working and pray a lot that he would see the same, you know, I desire to be and do be an ambassador for Christ, and that's to travel all over this world, delivering the Black man and woman to the Lamb of God. And I just assumed the position, like, okay, Allah, this is what we're gonna do. Where I'm going next, you know. So that's that, and I'm very grateful, and I love the women. I love the women of God. I love the sisterhood. No matter where you are on the planet Earth, I love you. So that's me. This your sister, and I love to have fun. I'm a jokester.
That's right.
Yes. Now that we do know, and we love you for it. Thank you so much, Sister Night Era. I see Sister Elia next.
Yay!
Sister Elia.
Yes, ma'am. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Well, praise be to Allah. Let's see. Where do I start? All right. Let me start at my age, because I get asked a lot, like, how old are you? People think that I'm actually younger than what I am. So I'm 48 years old. So let's see. My favorite color is orange and pink. My favorite food is eggplant tacos. I have a variety of favorite foods, but that's like the top. I can eat like a good dozen of them, if that's a word. I love, like Sister Kava, I love to dance. I love to dance. I used to do a lot of modern dances. So I love to dance. I love to think I can sing. So you would catch me. I mean, I lock myself in the bathroom, in the bedroom, and I put my song on, and I'm just singing, thinking I sound good. And to me, I sound good because I love the whole expression. You know what I mean? I really, you know, I always wish that, and don't get me wrong, you know, but this is just my conversation with Allah. I wish I had a voice, you know, like that, because I like to be able to express myself. And that is the way that, you know, most of our artists are able to express themselves. So I get in the bathroom and I just sing my little heart out, whether it's, you know, it's love songs or, you know, some rap or whatever. Just think I'm doing something, right? So I love to be expressive. Let's see. I love scary movies. I was
Ooh.
brought up on scary movies. Like, I mean, one thing I can say about being in MGT
Come on
is
now.
I was actually a bad MGT when it came to this, because every pregnancy, I'm up in a movie theater looking at a horror
Oh
movie.
no, sister.
And man, I wouldn't even get on what my husband thought about that. But I was, you know, every chance I got, because I love horror. I just love the whole horror movie. My mother used to love it. You know what I'm saying? So she would take my brother and I to see scary movies all the time. So if I get upset or if I want to be by myself, I'll be that girl up in the movie theater with my popcorn, and I'm watching a scary movie. I also love movies. I'm very,
Oh,
very
yes.
sentimental. And like Sister Naira, I will cry in a heartbeat. I love a good love movie. I love love. You know what I
Yes.
mean? I just
Yes.
love
Yes.
love.
I love
So yes, I love conspiracy movies, you know, because, you know, we're in this mission, you know, I'm like, yeah, they got a motive to that, you know, so I
right.
love conspiracy movies because it's just in tune with what the time is. Let's see, I love animals. I love animals. When I was a little girl, I used to want to be a veterinarian. So, you know, but I love animals. I've had a bird, I've had guinea pigs, I've had, well, now I have cats, I've had rabbits, you know, so I love animals. And I still currently, right now, I currently have 2 cats. What else can I say? The Nation. Wow. When I joined the Nation, it was just a new form of freedom. You know, I'm a free spirit. I like to think of myself as a free spirit. You know, if I had the chance, I really would have been up in a mountain somewhere or in a jungle somewhere. You know, I like mission work. You know, I'm completely head over heels and amazed by Mother Teresa. And, you know, Mother Teresa is like, I idolize her because of her nearness to God, you know, and the work that she did. I have books and videos. I watch her mission work all the time. And, you know, that's something that I just wish that I really want to do sometime in my lifetime, you know. But in the Nation, I love to drill. I love to be a soldier. I love soldier work in the Nation.
Come
That
on
was my
now.
thing. You know, matter of fact, when I had my children, I was, you know, fairly young, and they were Vanguard babies. You know, my oldest one, my second one, they were Vanguard babies. I was not ready to just be a mother. I mean, I had to, you know, we were arranging things. Can you watch my child? This, that, because I wanted to be a soldier on the road, not really knowing or coming into terms of, you know, that I'm still a soldier being a mother, you know what I mean? But I wasn't ready to give that up because I was just so young, you know. But I love soldiering in the Nation. It was a trial for me. When my husband became a student minister, it was a trial for me because, you know, we don't allow student ministers' wives to do but so much. And that was my whole world, like in the Nation was, you know, put me on security, you know what I mean? Let me do this, let me do that. And, you know, I had to kind of come in terms with, you know, what being a student minister's wife entitled. So that was a big trial for me. But those who are close to me, they know that I completely, I'm head over heels over my husband. But I'm very real. I'm very real about what relationships should be like. I'm very transparent, and I'm that sister that will tell you how they feel. You know, I can just be very open about my feelings and about what I think something should be. You know, my thoughts on it. Let's see. I think that's about it. Now I'm going to say this because this would be something, Sister Allison, that we can add on for tomorrow's um, Zoom call when we bring the husbands in. Everybody who knows me knows that my husband chased me. My husband chased me, y'all, not the other way around. So no matter what he says tomorrow, he chased me. So I'm throwing it out there.
You took, she went
Of
first.
course he did.
Praise
Of course he
Allah.
did.
Oh,
Yes, and I too am very grateful. I'm just very grateful to be in the Nation. I was seeking God all my life, and I'm just grateful that, you know, Allah brought me to the Nation of Islam, and I love my sisters, and I love the Black woman, and I love this journey, and I love our struggle, and I love being a part of that struggle.
That's right.
Praise be to Allah. Praise be to Allah. Well, thank you so much, Sister Elia, for sharing that with us. And next, we are going to with Sister Iman.
Hey,
Salam.
oh my goodness. Okay. I'm trying to think. What? Allison, asked me the question again because I was so caught up in the sisters' stories. I'm like, what am I supposed to say here? Tell me again.
So tell us something that's really, down to earth about you, that people don't think that you, just floated down from heaven, something very real that the women can relate to.
Well, I'm a Southern girl. I'm from the Delta of Mississippi, which so many people would not even think that I am. I still don't think that I'm from Mississippi, but I am, and I love being from Mississippi because just the realest as that you can get when you're from the deep South. There's so many disparities that happen down there, but I did grow up in Chicago, so I'm from the Chi. 2 years old, moved from Mississippi into Chicago, and people say, well, you're not really from Mississippi since you came so early to Chicago. But I spent all of my summers in the South with my grandparents, making like mud pies and playing in dirt and rolling tires and all of that. And they had hogs, of course, and we fed those. That was the discussion. Let me see what else people would not know about me. I guess if you really knew me, there's a lot of what should I say? There's a lot of somebody's trying to contact us. Okay, sorry about that. Nickname, you might have to guide me through because Allison, I swear I'm drawing so many blanks when it comes to talking about myself right now. There's a lot of things about me that is actually, I try to keep it as real as possible in all areas. I'm just a real person, even though people see me as, I think people kind of misunderstand me because I come off like, big personality, like, oh, but then if you get to know me, I'm so down to earth and so real about everything, even my time inside of the Nation of Islam and my life in the Nation. I've just kept it all the way real, as possible. And sometimes that got me in trouble, and a lot of trouble sometimes, but just had to be myself. The one thing that you can't do, you can't be real to anybody else unless you're real to the self.
That's
and
right.
what's true to you. And so I've been a pioneer in so many areas, just taking risks at a very early age. Of course, we grew up on the west side of Chicago when we first got in. A lot of people from Mississippi go to the west side of Chicago when they first get in there. And there was a lot of traumas that happened when I was very small with my mom growing up there, robbed 3 times, once at gunpoint, just so many childhood memories where, it was just unsafe. So those things I do now appreciate a lot more because they really were some foundational things that kind of helped to structure me and grow me to be someone that's actually doing some healing work for myself and also for others at this time. What else can I say about myself? I like dance, of course, like the other sisters. I think that's in our nature as Black people. We're just soulful like that. I used to be like everybody else, maybe not everybody else, but Michael Jackson fanatic. Yeah, I used to be Michael Jackson fanatic and used to be, I guess you would call it an impersonator of Michael Jackson, but not really.
Oh, wow.
But I was chosen to for what's it called, Citibank right now. That was back in, I think I was 14 years old, and they were doing their annual award show for the people in Chicago. And so all of their employees. And so they had entertainment as a part of it. And they were going to hire a Michael Jackson impersonator to do the finale of this show. And so when they went to talk about it, my mom's neighbor and one of her friends, she was like, "Oh my God, you have to use Dorothy's daughter because she is the best. Please give her an audition." They let me come in and audition. I'm going up against some professionals now.
Wow.
And I beat them out.
Go ahead
I was the one who closed that show out as Michael Jackson. It was Man in the Mirror. And the one where Michael had all of the choir behind him.
That's right.
The finale was amazing. So I was really excited by that, because all my life I was just like, yeah, I'm going to be in show business and I'm going to be this and that. And I'm like, oh, I'm performing on the same stage with Sammy Davis Jr. and I'm seeing all the names behind the stage. My life has been, I thank Allah, it has been very, very prophetic, and also anything that I thought about, and most of the things that I think about that I want to do or that I've wanted to do, I've been able to do them. And so I'm very grateful for that. And I know that that is absolutely because of the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad.
That's right.
That one statement when he said that Allah destroyed the impossible when he created the universe from nothing. That just erased every excuse and every, impossibility in my mind, that anything that I could conceive with my mind, that I couldn't achieve it. So I've lived a real, I think I've lived 20 something lives, and I'm at 47 next week. And I'm like, wow, what am I doing next? So I've done some acting. I was in the James Brown film, Get On Up, which was out just a few years ago. I was in that dance scene, 1971, Paris, France. Yeah, and the funniest part is, this goes back to kind of like how my life works, is my sister called me. I had my wedding reception. I got engaged at the Eiffel Tower in Paris, France. And then I had my wedding reception at the B.B. King Museum in Indianola, Mississippi. And I called it April in Paris. That was like the theme of it, right? And so my sister goes, everybody's like, why is she coming back to Mississippi to have her wedding reception? And she was just in Paris and she was whatever. And I'm like, okay, because this is my hometown. So April in Paris, in Mississippi, and my sister calls me months later and says, you wouldn't believe, I just heard Tom Joyner talking about they're doing a Paris scene in Mississippi for the James Brown movie. And when she told me that, I'm like, oh my God, that role is for me. I'm in that scene. I don't know how, but I'm in that scene. Do you know, I just sent an email. I didn't even have to audition. I sent an email and pictures, and I actually got picked for that particular scene. And I'm in that scene with an afro and go-go boots, and I'm dancing. And it's a quick boom. Like, you can't even, if you blink, you're going to miss me. But still, I was in it.
She was there, girl.
Yes,
That's right.
Yes, I was. And the other thing about me that, people may not know, but we'll talk a little bit about that as we go into tonight's discussion, is that I am an intuitive. And so I get messages all the time. And so while on set at the James Brown shoot in Jackson, Mississippi, I'm in wardrobe, and you have to dress yourself. So they gave you the concept. It's 1971. You're a Black female in 1971 in Paris, France. And so you kind of had to come up with your own. So I went to the Goodwill and bought my stuff. But when I was sitting there, James Brown's spirit started like, hey, you need to write this book. The whole piece started coming together about a book, because this movie is not going to deal with the full perspective of who he was as a man. and as far as his social and political activism, as far as his Black consciousness, they're not going to deal with that. And so right on the set, I'm picking up all of this information. I'm like, whoa, like I'm just coming in here to dance. I'm just trying to have fun. But no, it was like, okay, you got a responsibility to do. You're not just here to have fun. And so I began writing the book, and it was my first and only book that I have published, called The Political Swagger of James Brown, From Civil Rights to Hip Hop. And so it's about his influence, his social and political influence on the current genre that we know as hip hop today. And so many things that I discovered in the time of writing this book, which really was a lot of communing with his spirit. And you will not believe that at the premiere of the James Brown film in Mississippi, I was there in the red carpet and everything. And then the next day, I'm on my way to South Carolina to be on a board of advisory board for the remembrance of the legacy, the preservation of the legacy of James Brown. And so the very next day I'm going in, there's this Jewish woman who's over Mr. Brown's estate, which I really realized how she got that, but she was over his estate and the items from his estate. So after the meeting, she hadn't even met me and invited me to be on this panel. And I knew that was just divine order and just a part of the whole spiritual side of, I know we're going to deal with that a little bit later, but this really is who I am. And so we go in, and after the meeting, she said, let me show you something. And she takes me to the back, and there is this, I guess it's like a garage door. You know how a garage door goes up? So there's this garage door that's going up from the floor and going back into the ceiling. And as she's pulling it up, I see all of this sparkling royal blue and silver outfits and costumes. And the whole room was basically James Brown's closet and his furniture from his home. And chills just went all up my body as we were coming in. I was like, how in the world did I go from being an extra in a movie to being now over this advisory board for James Brown's memory, and then being connected with his actual physical things. So this is kind of how just my life goes. The book came out, we launched it with the JBs and had so much fun. We played Have a Funky Good Time, and they jammed that night, and This Is a Man's World, and it was a powerful moment. And so I have so many stories like that. And it's just really, it really is who I am. It's not something that I do just when I'm, in a certain setting. It's my life, and I can't turn it off, and it keeps happening. And it's a fascinating journey. So I'm excited.
Beautiful.
Yeah, that's it.
Beautiful.
That is awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. That is, everybody's sharing really leads us into what's happening tonight. So I'm so excited. Thank you for that.
Cool.
Next up is Sister Audrey. Sister Audrey, tell us something about you.
Assalamualaikum.
Walaikum salam.
Yes, ma'am. Well, I grew up in Ohio. I started off as a high school teacher. Actually, I started off as a Sunday school teacher when I was 12, and I realized I did not want to work with the tiny, tiny babies, because I said, Mom, the only time they listen to me is if I give them an animal cookie. And so I say, okay, I can't deal with the babies. So I taught high school for 12 years. And then I started teaching at the college level, and I'm a college success instructor and also composition. So I still teach college. I love to travel, just like Sister Kava. I love to travel. I've been to China, London, Cuba, Ghana. I'm a Prince fan, and I'm a movie buff. I don't like scary movies. I remember seeing, Jaws when I was younger. And, The Exorcist. And my father was like, oh, you can't handle scary movies. Your eyes look like they were about to pop out. So I never liked, so I love karate movies. Every weekend, my brothers, we would go watch Bruce Lee, all these movies for $1, $2, 4 movies in a row. on a Saturday. So, and I'm an Avenger fan, Avengers and Rocky. I know like most of the lines from that. If you ask my husband, we're watching. I love boxing too.
Oh, girl, yeah.
So, but anytime we're watching a boxing match, I'm like, dear, this is just like when Rocky fought Mr. T. And he was like, can we talk about real boxers? So that was something. And I love to do impressions when I was in high school. I used to do impressions. So that's a little bit about me.
Okay.
Yay.
Awesome.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Yes. Okay, well, thank you so much for sharing that. I guess I am next. I am a very simple person. It's interesting because when I'm out, like when I'm doing business, people think that I'm very elaborate. They think I like the corporate structure. I do not. I was also reared in Mississippi. I prefer to be out. Yes. I prefer to be out in the dirt, out in the trees with no shoes on. I'm a tree hugger. I love things dealing with sound, vibration, healing, anything in that aspect. It's interesting. I like to travel, but I don't like being gone long. Like after about 3 days, I'm ready to go back to my own house. Interesting thing. I also have the what they call the gift of sight or intuitiveness. And it's interesting when that part of you, I think that part of you, when it turns on, I know for me, when you can go anywhere, just go, you don't necessarily feel like the body has to go a lot of places. So that is that. I love dancing. I love singing. I can't hold not one note. I'll be honest with you. I cannot sing at all, which is interesting because I'm from a family of singers.
Wow.
So it's like God gave them the gift of voice. He gave me the gift of sight. So I didn't get the voice. Didn't get the voice thing. So really, that's pretty much about me. I love being a mother, love being a wife, excited about this part of my life because we're like empty nesters. All of our children are young adults now. So really, it's like, okay, what does this next phase of my life kind of look like? So really excited about that. So that's pretty much it about me. I'm just as country as I can be, if you can't tell from the heavy Southern drawl when I talk. And I absolutely love that. Spent a lot of time with my grandparents. Really love my grandparents. Both of them have transitioned now, but I did spend a lot of time with them. So I grew up with what they call simple values, like making your word bond. When you say you're going to do something, do it. You know what I mean? Treat everybody with respect, no matter what their job is, no matter what it is that they do. So yeah, that just really simple country girl, that's me. So
beautiful.
Yeah, so I am so excited. We're gonna get into it tonight. Before we get into it, I want to, you know what? No, I'm gonna wait till we get to a particular question and then I'll share that aspect. The first question that we have for the panel, they say, as we talk about Mary, may you discuss the importance of sisterhood? Anybody want to tackle that one first?
I have can I give a question on the question?
Yes.
It's so funny because as I thought about that, I thought about Mary and Mary being put away privily. So I thought about Mary being in the manger, right? And I thought about myself, and I said, I would be that sister that was in there sneaking Mary some food, because see, she was going to tell me where she was, right? And I was gonna be the underground person that go and say, okay, look, sis, stay up under here, but here goes some food, here goes some, you okay? What else do you need? Let me make a run for it. And when I think about the sisterhood, I you know, in my life, I have, you know, I'm saying rescued a few marrieds, meaning that, you know, it's very serious, from domestic violence situations or from situations where they had to get out of town and get out of town fast. And I can remember moving, you know, my sisters in that way, and being there for them, and being there, making a phone call and saying, no, don't turn back. Come on, let's go. You can make it. You know, you can make it with your babies, not just by yourself, but you can, come on, you know, throw the blanket over, don't give up, don't stop, keep running. And so when we talk about Mary, historically, it would make me think that who was the sisters there? Because they make it seem like she was in the manger somewhere by herself. And not to put anything down on the brothers, but my feeling is to say that, you know, her sisterhood, there was somebody there to bring her a drink as she hid. There was somebody there to bring her something to eat or to encourage her. So that's what I wanted to say. The importance of the sisterhood is that when we get into a hard time or a way where we have to go into hiding, or we have to run, or we have to move, that as a sister, when you have a sister, there's always will be somewhere there when you have a sisterhood to comfort you, and that Allah will use to get you through. So those are my thoughts on that.
Yes, ma'am.
Beautiful.
Beautiful.
Anyone else?
Yes, ma'am. I'm thinking about, did somebody else say something? Oh, okay. I was thinking, you know, when we look at Mary, the prototype, I do believe, I stand to be corrected, it was 9 different Marys. And they all had the same name, but they had different functions. And one of the things that I do know is when you hear the name Mary, that name is revered. So I look at the sisterhood as it relates to Mary as something to, or a body of women to be revered, you know, and we may all have the same name, especially under our structure of the Nation of Islam, Muslim Girl Training in General Civilization class. That's a name that we all carry, but we have different functions. But each and every person's function is to be revered. Each and every sister is to be revered. And even that Mary that may not know that she's Mary in this dispensation of time, she still is to be revered.
Yes.
So when I think about that, I look at, when we say this, that we are a reflection of one another. You know, when we look at one another and we look at the women of this world, our women, our people, those women, can we look at them and actually adore them, revere them, you know? And I think that's what makes a sisterhood, when I can see your value, I can see your worth, I can see your function in the kingdom, your function in the hereafter. I can see it. That's what I strive to do. So when I think of the sisterhood, and I think of it as in the term under that title, Mary, that she is to be revered in this sisterhood that we are building as a body of women in the body of Christ, no matter who you are and what discipleship you come from. If Christ is leading at your head, then we are to revere one another. So that's how I see the connection when it comes to Mary. We have the same name, but we have different functions. And I can honor you in your function. And I pray Allah that you will honor me in mine.
Praise be to God.
I had a comment. So sisterhood, the importance of sisterhood, I get a lot of joy from uplifting my sisters, you know, and that was one of the inspirations for Virtue Magazine, being given the opportunity to highlight various sisters. And it's interesting, in the current issue, Sister Wendy Muhammad who's on the cover, has a beautiful article called "I Believe in the Sisterhood," and she gives a tribute to the Farrakhan sisters. And then I asked for sisters to send into me, you know, whether it was a sister captain or someone who looked out for you, that was your, you know, your sister's keeper. You're your sister's keeper. So the other thing I would say is, in context of Mary was a truthful woman, you know, and it's so important for us to be true to ourselves. And even if we find that spirit of envy coming up, envious of another sister or anything, that's an opportunity for us to learn something about ourselves. Because if we see a sister with a nice car, it's like, really, it's telling you want a nice car, you know, so you go and work toward that. Don't be envious. Be thankful and for your sister that she has that. So when I think about the importance of us being true to ourselves and valuing our sisters, and the saying that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad has, a nation can rise no higher than its woman, that's for us also to uplift one another, you know. And it was one of the, don't be envious. One of the issues I was so proud of, I think it's in the back, but, and Sister Kavaya, I think you're on the cover, you were a cover model. She modeled in Virtue. But when I had the Atlanta sisters, that was such a beautiful picture of all the sisters in their various colors and everything. So I just think it's important for us to uplift one another, because a nation can truly rise no higher than its woman.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
And Sister Allison, I can add on to that too.
Absolutely.
For me, I think that the importance of the sisterhood, amongst everything else that all the other sisters are saying, is I think that it really does support our well-being. You know, to be able to build trust and positivity and love and have that connection with another woman, it really helps lighten the load emotionally and mentally, you know, of the things that we go through, because we know and understand that we're not alone. So, you know, the sisterhood, I think, you know, to me, it really just helps us on a whole different, our whole well-being on a whole different level. Because in this world, you know, being the Marys in this world, which we don't know where the Marys in this world, you know, and you come in contact with our sisters, and we all, you know, we're talking about each other, we're slap talking, gossiping, stabbing each other in the back, trying to keep each other's man, you know. And so for the sisterhood and really understand what sisterhood means, you know, and you're able to really put that guard down and trust your sisters and build with your sister, you know, then it just adds to your whole well-being. The second thing I would have to say is that it expands our horizon, meaning that, you know, because we are all God's children, and, you know, we're all beautiful in our own aspect, you know, one's not more beautiful than the other. It really it helps us to know that even though we're God's children, we're that Mary, and we're equally as beautiful, we're the same, but we're not the same. You know, and we're able to expand that horizon with one another, knowing that we're not the same, and we just kind of explore our own gifts and talents. So I would say that, you know, those are the two things that kind of stand out for me amongst everything else. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, let me, so to give some balance to this, because I want our sisters to know that may not have a sisterhood or may have a thought process that's a little bit different than what we have expressed here today. So when I came into the Nation of Islam, because I don't have biological sisters, I only have brothers. And so my experience, though I came in at 19, thus far had not been good as it related to women. So I was one of those who was like, no, let me hang out with some dudes. I don't do women. They too messy. I'm not doing that, right? So I came in with that mindset. And so
Wow.
it even had some experience with women as I started to develop, because anybody who knows me knows I'm pretty much like a really free spirit, you know, have a lot of light. I like interacting with people.
Beautiful.
And so what I learned is that not a lot of people like that.
Right.
They don't like for you to
Oh, man.
shine very brightly. They feel intimidated, and then they make you think that, you know, like, who do you think you are? Now,
Right.
mind you, and we'll go a little bit into that later. Now, mind you, I was damaged because that's my mind. It was already implanted in me. Who do you think you are? Like Sister Naira was saying earlier, that whole unworthiness thing came
Mhm.
with me. So this is in my environment. So I said that to say sisterhood wasn't something that I was willing to excel. So I wanted to give you that aspect of that, because when I had my womb practitioner training, which was some years ago, but my trainer, Tracy Bryan Swint with Love My Womb Academy, was my trainer and facilitator. And if you've done that type of work, before you can be a practitioner, you have to take your own walk. You have to go through your own healing process. So all of that, we talked a little bit about domestic violence yesterday, being exposed to that at a young age, and all this other trauma that I had growing up. So I had to release that. And one of the things she said to me was, as I was working on a young lady, she said, "You're a healer." And I was like, oh, okay. Now I knew that, but she, for somebody I had never met, for her to say that was just like her saying, I see you. I see you.
Wow.
And I finally had a woman in my presence to say, hey, I see you. And it shifted my whole world. It literally did. It shook my whole, 180. Because what happened was I was then around sisters who was going to put that hood over me and allow me to heal, allow me to process, allow me to go through whatever I needed to go through, allow me to purge whatever needed to be purged in a sacred, private environment. My sisters was like, okay, I got you. So I went from this person that was like, I don't do women, to a person that can bear witness to, if you've never had a sisterhood, if you've never had a woman to love you and to love on you, you've never been loved. You've never experienced love if you've never had a sister to do that for you. So that to me is the importance of sisterhood, because I can see every aspect of what a woman looks like that don't look exactly like me, and respect and honor everything about her and allow her to come in my energy and my space and love and honor and respect everything about me. So that's what I'll add to that.
Beautiful ad. Beautiful ad.
Thank you for the addition.
Thank you for the real, sister. That was keeping it real. Thank
Praise
you.
be to Allah. Because I know we have sisters out there that's not their reality. But I want them to know that at one while, it wasn't all of our reality either.
Absolutely.
Until we experienced it. And it is out there for you. I always tell sisters on Facebook all the time, when they respond to, no, I don't do women, or I don't have a sisterhood, let me love you. What's your number? Where you at?
That's right. That's right.
You be a part of my sisterhood, okay?
That's right.
The importance of that. Praise be to Allah.
That's right.
Okay, so the next question is, so we'll start with this one. Mother Tanetta was a good example of a female God. Can you talk about what it was like to travel with her? This one specifically is for Sister Kava, but once you address that, if there's anybody else on the panel who'd like to, they can add as well.
Wow, praise be to Allah. So the first thing I want, that was a great segue. because the first thing that I want to say is that Mother Tanetta was definitely a sister. It was a beautiful sisterhood. She was our mother, yes, spiritually, but she was a sister. She looked out. I mean, she was the first person that taught me the word synchronicity.
No, y'all love y'all, right?
She was the first person to teach me that what it really was to want for your sister what you want for yourself, and to leave no sister behind.
Teach.
So, and I want to, before I go into anything spiritual, I want to just give some practical things. Okay?
Teach.
So some of the practical things is that, okay, it wasn't just like, you know, oh, I'm traveling with Mother Tanetta. You travel with Mother Tanetta, you got to have plane fare. You gotta get a room. You gotta go. The trips are expensive. You know, you might be spending $2,000, $3,000, $4,000.
Wow. Yes, ma'am.
Buying, gotta get to where you going. And where's that money coming from? That money is coming from your pocket.
Teach.
But she always, like, it was somebody who said, oh, Sister Iman, when Sister Iman said that, you know, there was nothing in your mind that you can conceive that you couldn't achieve.
Come on.
And so she would just say, oh, okay, she could call you up. I don't know if Sister Iman can bear witness this ever happened to her. She could call you up in a week's time and say, okay, I want you to meet me in Mexico. I want you to meet me in the Bahamas. So and I'm saying to myself, okay, well, Bimini, right? I'm saying to myself, okay, I gotta get there. I'm looking at my bank account though, but I gotta get there. Well, let me tell you what. I made my first trip to Bimini, Bahamas with Mother Tanetta off of banana pudding. When I told you in 2 weeks' time, your sister sold about $2,000 worth of banana pudding. Because there was never anything of this world that's going to suppress you or suppress us from getting done what needs to get done.
Right.
And so that was something that I learned from her. Now, but watch this. Not only did you get yourself there, okay? Because I got my money. I'm here. I'm getting on the plane. So she may say, well, you know, it would be really good if Sister So-and-so could make this trip because, you know, we have need for her. She has an excellent skill.
Wow.
And she needs to be here. Now, we all looking like, Sister So-and-so ain't got one dime.
Right.
So we looking at, well, how is Sister So-and-so going to get here? Okay, well, we are our sister's keeper.
That's right.
Yeah.
So I'm going to put in the next is going to put in the next. Why? Because it's bigger than us.
That's
it's bigger
right.
than an individual. It's about a mission. It's about synchronicity. It's about a sisterhood to do a work, not just to go hang out, but to do a work. And so not only do you get your money to get there, you put in to get whoever else needs to get there.
Teach.
That's right.
And that was one thing that I learned. Another thing that I wanted to share, going back to the mission, is that, you know, it wasn't a privilege or an honor or, you know, oh, I'm special in that sense. There's work to be done. Mother Tanetta was always, for me, this is for what I understood. Mother Tanetta was always about sifting that person to find the work, value in the work, that for the mission of, as she said, her husband, the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, the Christ. So it was not about going on a vacation. And she reminded us of that on play. One day she got up so upset with us, and I never forget it. She hit the table. Oh, what do you all think you're here on vacation? You know? And it was like, we were in Mexico. I think this was like my second, maybe third year in Mexico, traveling with her. And at a certain point, she refused to speak English to us anymore because she said, okay, this is y'all second year, you're in another country and y'all can't speak Spanish? Okay, well, watch this. This is not a vacation. None of you all know Spanish. She just spoke Spanish the whole time. We sit there like, oh my goodness, what did she say? What's going on? So that prompted us to do what? Learn Spanish. Develop your skill on the basic level first before you even get to the spiritual level. Be kind to one another. Look out for each other. Be a part of the sisterhood. Know your value. Know your value relative as the married relative to the mission of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. There was nothing that she did that she didn't preface. The most honorable Elijah Muhammad taught me. The messenger of Allah said this. The messenger of Allah said that. So, you know, that was something that was always placed in my heart, knowing that whatever I do, that I need to do it for the mission. I need to develop myself, to develop the skills. And I didn't, in the beginning, she saw something in me that I didn't see because I didn't know exactly what skills that I would be able to use. Because I'm going to be very frank and honest. I tell the story. You know, when you travel with Mother Tanetta, she was so profound. You know, you hear people talk about her when she talk about the mind of God, this, that. I mean, the education level or the mind level that was just so profound. I just felt out of place. Many people there, they were so well versed and so well read, and you know, they bringing up stuff. And when I tell you, I'm sitting there like a deer in headlights, like I don't know what. Very cultural. I'm like, I don't know what they talking about. The red queen, the blue queen, the gray queen. I have no idea. You know, we going in all kinds of museums, and I'm just sitting here like, isn't that the same little piece of article that we saw at the last museum? What is it? So in my mind, I'm saying, man, you find your purpose. I mean, what are you here to do? Because there must be something that you're here for, because you're not getting this education stuff. Well, lo and behold, one of our last trips that I was on with her, she walked up to me and I expressed this to Sister Allison and some other groups that I'm in. And I was very, very, very ill. I was very sick. And but I wanted to make the trip. I made the trip, and we were on what we call the Mercedes-Benz bus. So we would leave from one part of Mexico and go to a whole nother part, hours. But when I tell you, I was just curled up in the little corner, just trying to make it. And the next thing you know, I was sitting here, Sister Iman, and I'm with my eyes closed, head down. I began to feel this heat. Incredible heat. You know, I like the heat. You might know me, I don't like to call I like the heat, but it began to get intense and more intense to the point where I couldn't take it anymore, and I just jumped up. And when I looked up, Mother Tanetta was standing over me. So I don't know if you can see my hands, but she was standing over me, and she had her hands over me in this position. So I startled her. She startled me because I'm like, what's she doing? The whole bus was quiet. Right. The whole bus was quiet. She was standing over me, and she said, when I startled her, she said, "Oh, I'm sorry." She said, "Oh, pardon me, I'm sorry." She said, "My husband told me to come and heal you." Now the whole bus is looking at him. I'm like, okay, well, what kind of healing? So I'm looking up like, wow, okay. At that time, I still didn't know what she was doing or what type of healing. I do know, monitoring myself, maybe 30 minutes later, 40 minutes, I was up, doing stuff, moving around. You know, we had books to give out to the children in Mexico, a whole library, and I'm counting books now. I'm up, and it's dawning on me like, wow, I feel better. I feel so much better. So when we finally get to the stop where we're getting off the bus, she walked up behind me and touched me on my shoulder, and she said, "Very soon, we will be able to walk up to people and just say," and she touched me on my shoulder, she said, "Peace, be healed." And I was like, wow, it wouldn't be too much later after coming home and learning some things that what she was doing, or what I believe that she was doing, was some type of energy Reiki work on me. Now, all I can do is be a bearer of witness. and to say, I know what happened to me. I know that I was healed on that day through energy work. And I know we're going to get into that a little later, but I can definitely be a bearer of witness. So what it was like traveling with her, it was like a portal being open to our divine gifts. I can share some stories of, and I know we're going to get into that, the tuning in, the radio in the head, that I actually experienced with her, and her teaching us. Literally, it reminds me, and I want to put it so maybe some of the audience were not necessarily in the Nation of Islam, but it reminded me of one of my favorite movies, Sister Audrey and Sister Elia, X-Men. It reminded me of the X-Men. So I felt like we was a bunch of sisters going to different remote islands and being taught how to use and develop and even find our gifts. And a lot of those gifts being spiritual gifts. So I'm gonna leave it at, oh, and then one thing I must say, that I was so honored to be able to have her to come where I lived. We traveled out, but the day that she came to Georgia, and she actually came to what we affectionately call the farm, but she actually stayed and spent time. That's why I said she was a sister, you know, to come stay at your house. But the wife of the Christ, I still scratch my head sometimes and say, what, that happened? You know, so yes, that is my experience with Mother Tanetta. That's my own personal experience. It doesn't put me above anyone. It just gives me an opportunity to be a witness bearer. Yes, ma'am.
Praise be to Allah. Yes. I think it actually leads us into perfectly the rest of the questions. Did anybody else want to say anything about that before I move on?
Beautiful.
So before we go into the next question, so I'll just bear witness to what Sister Kava was saying about Mother. She was like a portal. If you were around her and you got a chance to experience her, it was like an activation almost when she was here. And Sister Kava, I don't know if it was this particular time she came to the farm when we did the Genghis Khan.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, we went to she came to explore the Genghis Khan museum. And it was so interesting how I ended up with her. We were leaving Sister Kava's home, and I was actually in another car. And the driver of her car, right before the cars get ready to take off, she tells me to come and get in the car with Mother, which was very unusual. So I get in the car with Mother. And it was a very interesting experience in the way that if you're in the Nation of Islam, you know, if you're on a detail, you don't communicate with the principal, right? So, and I was on a detail. In some type of way, we got to talking about healing and astral projection and all of this type thing. And it was so funny because she's sitting right behind me. And so I'm turning around whenever she asks me a question. And when I realize I'm talking to the principal, I'm like, something dings in my head, like, girl, turn around, you talking to the principal. I turned around and I was so excited because I turned around for a little bit and she started talking to me again, which made me turn back around. So I'm like, it's different this time. She's asking to talk to me. Like she's carrying on this conversation. We were like two children in a candy store talking about spiritual gifts and the different aspects of the being itself, and just bearing witness to other people, bearing witness to seeing us in different places where our bodies were not. Like we knew our bodies were not there, but people saying that they saw us a particular way. And she asked me, and I'll wrap up on this, she asked me a question. I shared this with Sister Kava. She said, do you know why the angels have tapped you? And I looked at her. Y'all should have saw me. I looked at her because I'm like, tell me. I said, no, but I'm waiting on her to tell me. I don't even have enough sense to say, what does that mean? I don't know what that means. Tell me what that means. I never asked her what it meant. And she never told me. This is what she did. I think it's hilarious to this day. We're sitting up talking to each other. And when she asked me if I knew what it meant, and I said, no, she goes, She sat back in her chair like she thought that was so interesting that I didn't know. And so carried on the conversation and we started talking about something else. But from that day to this one, it's as if somebody, and if you know my story, I've been this way since I was a child. I've always had spiritual gifts, but it was like she turned up the knob on them and they just started to like really develop. And so that's what I mean when I say she was like a portal. Asking me the question wasn't really like asking me the question almost.
Wow.
It was like Sister Naira asking me to take a look. You as a spiritual being, just look, take a look. And so that is my experience.
Wow, beautiful.
Beautiful. Wow.
And so this, and Brother Michael, I did get your question here. And sisters, let's address this. Actually, it's toward the end, but I want you all to have it in your mind. And Brother Michael says, thank you, sisters, for your love that you are sharing. The question is, how does the sisters use current times, whereas our people are ready for revolution, and we know 75% of the work is done with the woman? How is the MGT making easily accessible to the sisters to come and join unto their own?
Yes.
So let's definitely address that. For now, I wanted to stay here in this area because the next question is, can you speak on the ability to tune in and the power of love? Hold on, the power of love to help a person tune in. And then they say, example, Mary's ability to tune in to Joseph.
Well, I would just say, tuning in for me is being present, and when you can be present with anyone or anything, you have the ability to perceive. You can perceive what you see and the unseen. So when we're talking about the power of love, love is the ability to, for me, just as one aspect of love, is to be present with that individual or that thing or that space. That's affinity, to be able to share space and emotion, which is love. So, I don't have to be, physically in your presence, physically, in your living room or wherever you are, to tune into you, because I'm present in my mind. I'm here with you. I'm paying attention to your words. I'm paying attention to your body, your movement. My mind is not on where I was an hour before this Zoom call. Whatever has happened or wherever I may have to be, I'm present with you. And I think that's the power of love, when you can be present with the person and to be able to listen to the word able, to communicate with that individual without saying a word. That's tuning in. Many people think communication is when you have to speak. No, communication comes in, so many different forms. We have the ability to perceive, so can I perceive that which is about you, of the unspoken, the unsaid, and be present with that? That's love. That's a part of love for me, to be able to be with you in whatever form or fashion that's needed or wanted. in that when I'm in your present space or time that we're sharing with one another. And sometimes, I don't know, I'm sure we all have the ability. It's how well we use our ability. I know that I can perceive my sister, like Sister Elia is in Miami. I don't have to have her on the phone or whatever. I could just bring her up in my mind. I could bring someone up in my mind and begin to be in their space. And that's because I'm present with them. When you know a person, you share space with that person, you've communicated with that person. You don't have to be physically in their presence to tune into them, is what I would like to say.
Awesome.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
If I can add to that too, Sister Allison.
Yes.
Yes. I love the story of Mary and Joseph, right? So, it makes me think about how the minister teaches us that love is the most powerful force in the universe. Now, if we think about this, he didn't say the most powerful force in the world, the most powerful force in the state, in the city. He didn't say the most powerful force on your street, right? He said the most powerful force in the universe. So now when we think about Mary and Joseph, according to the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, the true history of Jesus, we're taught that they were childhood sweethearts. So just childhood alone, you got a sense of innocence there, right? A sense of purity. So now they promised, according to the messenger, they promised each other that they would marry once they got older, or not older, he didn't say older, once they got marriageable age, right? So now this is something, what is love? It's energy, right? And if you're in love with someone, you're dealing on the highest level of frequency. So we already know that energy can be transferred, right? And so when we think about that, I think it's what called kinetic energy or something like that, when you transfer energy. If you're able to love somebody that deep, then you're able to transfer your energy. You're able to bring them up, like Sister Naira said, up in your mind, and I think the other word is what? Telepathy, and you're able to transfer those into words, and that person can feel you. That person can actually, understand that you're calling on them. So, it just, I don't know, the science, behind it all, but just on what we've been given, or at least the most the extent that I have studied on, because I know there's some that know more, but it just makes me think of that whole high frequency of love and being the most powerful force in the universe. And I think Allison, you said that with me not that long ago, how love transcends worlds. You know what I mean? It transcends. So it's out there, so yeah, that's, if Mary was able to do that, then she was dealing on the highest frequency, and it must have been just very easy for her to tune in, or Joseph to tune into her thinking at that time. So, yes.
Thank you.
Sister Allison?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. I remember asking Mother Tynetta this question, and I think she was in Atlanta at the time, because she said she was just out with a sister. Sister Landry was there.
Yes.
Sister Kava. Okay, so maybe that was the time. So I asked her about, dreams or visions, and she said, "Oh, we were just talking about that, sister." And she mentioned that, she said, these are gifts. These are natural gifts from God. And I'm reading from my last interview with her that was in this Virtue. And she said, they are connected to, these are natural gifts from God, and they are connected to the higher fields. And she said, when children are experiencing these visions, God is like a rebirthing of the God inside of each of us. And then she said, if we allow it to grow and don't tamper with it, we can become giants, become the giants and the scientists that we were. She said, the gifts can fade away if we don't use it and learn how to apply it. We have to be better parents and help to facilitate our children's gifts. And then she mentioned, I asked her about, well, can proper diet help us be able to tune in. And I know in the final call, she's mentioned some of the things that the messenger said, go to a quiet place and think about a person. But I asked her about diet, and she said, well, that's a very good question. You are what you eat. And we have heard that for eons, she said. Through the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, we cannot put more stress on it than to say that it is the right way that coordinates with our function to produce a better cellular structure, the better food that we have. She said it renews the cells within our body if we eat live foods. We should eat a mixture of steamed vegetables without letting all the vitamins escape into the air by overcooking. We throw away the nutrients that's in the pot thinking it's the leftovers from the vegetables, when we really should use the other forms of cooking and drink that juice. And it was funny, I was just sharing this with my family, and my father said, oh yes, we used to drink the juice from the vegetables. He said we called it pot liquor. I was like, really? And she said now, she talked about the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan is putting us on a program of going back to the land, agriculture, growing our own food. And then she went on to talk about, this interview is in the anniversary book, but she goes on to talk about, you know, our hands in the soil and the value of that. So I just wanted to share that was something that and I have the interview, the recording somewhere too. I got to find it. But it was beautiful. She was always very open. I was blessed to interview her 3 times. Never went on a trip, was asked once, but I didn't have that spirit you have, Sister Kava, like to make it happen. I was just like, how am I gonna, you know, but later on, after I missed that opportunity, any other times I had an opportunity to travel, I made it happen, you know. So I just wanted to share that. And the last thing, there was a brother's question where he said, what are the sisters doing? And I just want to say briefly, we're doing what the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan told us to do. We follow instructions, and we're to be in our homes and taking care of our homes and cleaning our homes. And we have been making the booklet that we were given on how to take care of our house available. I've seen sisters post it. Email me. You can get the book. We have been very free with that. We've passed out the article on preparing our homes that the minister passed out. So we're following instructions, and we're doing as he said do on in his lecture or his talk on the prayer line about being in your chambers and preparing and sharing that information with our families and friends. And this form right here that Sister Allison has, and even the form I've had with Virtue Live, those are all ways of making the teachings accessible to sisters, because where is everyone? Where is the audience? The audience is right here on social media. So we have been very accessible online. So
Beautiful.
Yes, beautiful answer. Was there anyone else who wanted to share? All right. Well, yes. Yes.
Sister Allison, can you hear? Allison, can you hear?
I can.
Oh my
We can hear you.
Okay, great. I was trying to talk. Can you hear me? Perfect. Thank you. Okay. So I wanted to, because I think it might lead into our next question, but I definitely wanted to speak on this a little bit. As I think it was, as I think all of the sisters have hit on some very key components to being able to
You're going out, Iman. We can't understand you.
It is a part of
All right, y'all.
teaching. It is a part of our teaching that not many in the ministry have taught on. but Mother Tynetta was definitely a forerunner. No? Hello? Sister?
Okay.
Can you hear at all?
Okay, now we can. You're a little bit more clear. You were breaking up.
No?
Now we can. We can hear you now. Good. Oh, I think we lost her.
Uh-oh, you went out again. Okay, so we'll come back. We'll come back to Sister Iman. Okay, so this question, and we can answer this question concerning Mother Tynetta and really just the women in general. And it is, Mother was known to have spiritual gifts. Do you think it was because of her relationship with God?
Wow.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Sister Allison?
Yes.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think that maybe, you know, being like yourself, she may have been born with them. I mean, I don't have facts on it, but she may have already been born with them. But once Allah brings you into, you know, his spirit, then it will increase, you know. So everything that she did, the way that she submitted, you know, her love, you know, Allah knows the heart, her love and her level of submission, just, I believe Allah just increased it. You know, I don't believe she just had one gift. It probably was compounded with many gifts, you know. So yes, ma'am, definitely. I think that she could have been born with it, but I think that it definitely increased. I'm not sure of the first part, but definitely it expounded once she came into the nation and came into her own. Absolutely.
Well,
I would say too, you know, of course, I'm in agreement with everyone that said about Mother Tynetta and her ability to have these beautiful spiritual gifts, that she was an example of how we all have them, you know. And I know in the Bible, it talks about the spiritual gifts that we all have or that one possess. But when you know that you are a God and that you have power and dominion, the cleaner we are, the more we are in submission, the more those gifts come forth. I mean, in her ability that we all have gifts, and we just have to be able to bring forth that Godhood. Remember, we have been conditioned to be
Sister Naira, we're getting a lot of feedback. Is that?
I don't know where it's coming from.
Does anybody else have their Facebook on?
I think that is me, sister. I'm trying to close that out. I believe that is me. I was looking at the questions for you because a couple of questions and answers was coming up on that forum. I think I got it off now. Okay.
Oh, okay.
But yes, ma'am. My apologies.
Okay, go ahead, Sister Naira. I apologize.
Yes, ma'am. I don't know where I got broken off at. However, my point was, or is, you know, the more cleaner we are in our thoughts, our eating, our prayer, the more we are submissive and deactivating from Satan's world, deactivating our minds from Satan's way. Then our God abilities, ye are all gods, children of the Most High God. But it's your expression of your Godhood, of which aspect of the Father that you are going to bring forth in this world to help with the kingdom building. But that comes for me, or I think, when we are able to tune up with his word, tune up with his way, tune up with his lifestyle, which means we must take our will and submit our will to do his will. And it's natural. I mean, it's just who we are. We're gods, you know. So I truly believe that Mother Tynetta showed the feminine aspect of Godhood and what that looks like coming from the Black woman. You know, and we are so fascinated about what she presented to us because she is us and we are her.
That's
right.
Know,
to be able to emulate, to the rest of the women of the world who have not come up into that ability to understand that we all are gods, Black women in particular. We are gods, children of the Most High God. And sometimes we have it, you know, we do things, you know, we may not know that we know how to do it on purpose.
That's right. That's right.
On purpose, but we do it. Let something happen where you got to think about your children or whatever, your husband, you know, that intuition. Please, we tap in real quick, you know, and we can be, look, I done been there smoking weed and whatever else, but those abilities will come out when it's necessary, when we're under some type of pressure that those things have to come out. I mean, plenty of sisters in the world, and they're just, they have that ability, and they may not know God. We know God, but it doesn't mean that they're able to express that God ability. You know, right. The cleaner we are, the more we're just on purpose with it.
Right.
Be to Allah.
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing. Was there somebody else who?
I wanted to just share from the comments. I had to get off, but my dear, beautiful sister Callie Muhammad, who was definitely a companion, I would say, to Mother Tynetta. She wrote in the comments that yes, definitely, she was born with the gift. And I love what Sister Naira stated in terms of, you know, it just being natural. As Sister Audrey mentioned, that it's a natural gift. And she definitely was naturally, even before her meeting of the, if we read any of her stories or even some things that she shared in the final call under her article, Unveiling the Number 19, when she shared her meeting with the man who we may know, the scientist. This was before she came into the Nation of Islam, before she, you know, knew the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, and certainly before she knew him as the Christ. She was already tapped. Did she ask you about that word being tapped, sister?
What was that?
I said she asked you about that word being tapped. She was already tapped. So I just wanted to share that because my dear sister, friend, and companion, my companion, Sister Callie Muhammad, did state that yes, she was born with that gift. As we all, as she shared with Sister Audrey, we're all born with that gift. And you know, as mothers, as Mary's, mother of Jesus. Okay, we look at it as being Mary, mother of Jesus, one of the prototypes. Jesus had that gift, the radio.
That's right.
But how did he nurture it? He nurtured it. He came through the womb of his mother.
That's right.
Those gifts were not, they were not stifled in him. You know,
that's so important. Oh, wow.
They were not, little boy, you crazy. Go sit down. Go sit down talking that foolishness, talking that crazy, talking that voodoo stuff. You know, I'm just trying to be making it real.
That's right. Go ahead.
Sit down, you know, especially Black people, you know, in certain parts, you know, it's like, you know, talking that, get out of here with that Satan stuff.
Right.
You know, because the devil actually switched things and made evil fear seem and then took away our spiritual gifts, you know, to make it seem something foreign. You know what I mean? But we were able to, of course, especially Black women, please, come on, seers, you know, somebody that ate some fish, or somebody pregnant. All kinds of stuff. But we look back on it. Where did those things come from? Right. Where did that natural gift come from? So I just wanted to share that piece.
Thank you. Thank you so much for joining also, Sister Callie. So I want to hear from you, Sister Iman. I know you were having problems earlier.
Yes, there was a storm headed over here, and so it knocked the channel off. But I think it was the energy of what we were getting ready to discuss, Sister Allison, because you know you and I have talked in private about this for so long in reference to this aspect of our teaching of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad to be able to come forth on a forum like this. We thank Allah so much for Mother Tynetta Muhammad and her being a forerunner here in this aspect of our teachings. We've all heard about Master Farad Muhammad pulling up images in a glass of water and being able to speak to those beings that was in that glass of water. We know now, we modern science is catching up, and what's happening now, and I really, well, Mother Tynetta is here because we are here and we are extensions of her. But right now, Sister Allison, you know for sure that we are witnessing, and Sister Kava and Sister Callie and all of you who traveled with Mother Tynetta, you are seeing the things that she talked about, the things that she taught us become mainstream. Everybody has crystals. Everybody is thinking about energy. Everybody is talking about this technology that we know today is what is at the root of our teachings. The Elijah Muhammad said, he didn't say all of us were born with it. He said some of us are born with the gift of prophecy, and that others have to work at it through intense study of history, which is the exact quote. But in 1959, when the Honorable Elijah Muhammad came to Chicago and Mother Tynetta came with him, one of the first things she told him was, or asked him, was to teach her the knowledge of how to tune in. And she talked about that in depth of what he told her. Sister Kava talked about finding a quiet place and putting your mind on a person. But even with Jesus and the true history of Jesus and Mary, Jesus was taught the ability to tune in on his enemies and to learn how to escape that. I think one of the sisters talked about, Allison, you and I know for sure, growing up in Mississippi, there's so many of our people who are so spiritually gifted in this way. And they're being born with that as well. We could not understand what we're like. And I want to deal a little bit with the science of it because we want to demystify and we want to make it plain. We want to make it plain, and we want to speak from science because that is teaching that we have. This is scientific and technology based. When we talk about frequency, first to the telepath. Silence is a gateway to the telepath. The more you can silence the brain, the more you can silence the mind. In meditation, what you are doing is you're bringing your brain waves down. The lower the brain waves, the slower the brain waves, then you are able to tap into information that is beyond the five senses. When right now, we're in what's called the beta brainwave state. That's the state of doing, etc. When you begin to sleep at night, your brainwaves begin to lower. You go down into alpha. 20 minutes of meditation will allow you to get into the alpha brainwave state, which is more creativity, which is more productivity. It all has a pineal gland or a pineal gland in the brain. You are wired for this. That gland, the pituitary gland and the pineal gland, controls intuition. And so the more that you are able to go in through practice of meditation, through being able to lower those brain waves down, the stronger it gets. Does food help? Absolutely. We've heard about decalcifying your pineal gland, having too much, getting direct sunlight, at least 30 minutes a day of direct sunlight in the pupil helps to strengthen it. You're talking about thought. When we are taught that thought travels 24 billion miles, a person live beyond the physical body. They live through their thoughts, and the thoughts being able, and people being able to pick up on those thoughts through frequency. What is a radio in the head? The radio in the head is that tuning like antenna on a radio, find the direct, clear message or the clear vibration that's coming through. That pineal gland is very similar to an antenna. There are certain things that you can enhance it. Sister Allison, and you know for sure.
Wow.
They didn't want y'all to know what I know for sure.
Well, you're going to have to tell us what you know for sure,
Right.
Sister Allison, because we was all in it.
Yeah, you gotta, dropping these lugs.
Goodness. We lost her completely?
Yes.
Yeah, we lost her completely. Okay.
That's that storm that you were talking about, Sister Allison. Every time you get into, the storm comes.
Oh my goodness.
Wow.
That is, wow. There's something really with that. We're going to have to talk about that a little bit later as it relates to technology. And once your particular frequency gets up to a certain point, it actually does interfere with technology.
Yes, ma'am. Wow.
So, all right, we're going to have her to come back on and deal with that. So the next question that we can go through quickly before we get to the main question that we'll close out with is, there was a question for Sister Audrey. How does someone be in Virtue magazine? Ooh, they want to know. It's like, okay, all them superstars be in Virtue. They want to know how they can be in Virtue too.
You know what's an easy way is buy an ad. You automatically in Virtue.
Okay,
but
that's right. Marketing.
To take pictures with Virtue, and my anniversary book, New York was in there, Columbia, South Carolina, a lot of cities in the current issue. So if sisters get together in a group, Houston, Texas, and they took a beautiful picture. I think they had the largest group. Greensboro, North Carolina was in Virtue. In this current issue, Mosque number 1, Mosque 91, Detroit and Toledo are in there, Philly. They took a picture of the sisters holding Virtue, so that's one way of getting in. And then reaching out to virtuetoday@gmail.com if there is a story that is impactful that we believe would be impactful for the sisters, that would be uplifting. Because I've always wanted stories that were positive. This is not or uplifting or something you can learn from. This is not a time. Virtue doesn't have, that we're coming out every month or anything like that, because that's something that you could post online if you just came out with, a book or something like that. But then Virtue may not have be published for another 6 months, so that's old news. But we try to find timeless articles. And I also pull on, when people have ideas, like when Sister Nilam was on the cover, it was actually my daughter's idea. She said, she really admired Sister Nilam and would her pictures on Instagram, and she was like, I think it would be a good idea, Mom, and I listened to her and reached out. I knew, I remember when her husband was a new, they're the music group.
I knew.
So us, but that's one way, would like to do Virtue highlights. Right now we have a Virtue challenge. So if you pictures on my current Instagram page, if you take a picture of yourself with Virtue, or you send the picture to us and tell us a little bit about yourself, you may be chosen Virtue highlights. So that's one we get in Virtue.
Okay. All right, y'all. So y'all got it here. And if you don't have your Virtue magazine, that means you got to get the Virtue magazine. Right. Take your picture so you can get in the Virtue magazine.
Exactly.
And you too can be a superstar in the Virtue magazine. So there you go. That's how you get that done. All right. Oh, well, the next question for you is, how did you meet Sister Iyanla Vanzant?
Oh, yes, ma'am. So actually, I met Sister Iyanla Vanzant. Well, it was Savior's Day 2011, and that's when Susan Taylor was there. And Sister Iman, I'm not sure if she's back on, Sister Iman, we had collaborated with a workshop called I Am Woman, and which was her idea. And Iyanla Vanzant was on the panel, and I was the moderator for that panel. And Sister Iman is back. So Sister Iman's idea of I Am Woman, and Iyanla Vanzant was there, and we asked her questions and everything. So she's very down to earth, very down to earth. And one of my favorite pictures is that afterwards she came back, we were in another room, and she took pictures with my mom, my dad. It was like one of the best Savior's Day, second to, you know, the this one that just passed, Best Savior's Day. But I remember first hearing her speak in San Francisco many years ago, and this impacted me because she was letting people come up and ask her questions. And I remember one sister asking her, saying, my name is Sister so-and-so, and I'm just a single mom, and I have a 10-year-old daughter, and I've been single a number of years. And Iyanla said, so you proud of that? I mean, what, you know, she said, I don't want you to limit how you view yourself. She said, why not say I'm a mother of a beautiful 10-year-old? Mm-hmm. As opposed to saying I'm a single mom, and then as if it was something negative. And it helped me because at the time I was a single mom. I was single, and I say I'm not going to refer to myself as that. I'm going to say I'm a mother of a beautiful daughter with that I'm helping to raise with God's help. And God has been taking very good care of me. My man, God has been taking good. So that's how I would speak to people before I became married, before I got married again. So I'm a mother and an educator, but I would never use the term single mother. And I just remember Iyanla Vanzant saying that, but it was actually her book that impacted me to even, was that one day my soul opened up. I used to read all of her books. So, but I thank Sister Iman for that idea of having that I Am Woman, and us having Iyanla Vanzant on the panel and everything. That was, again, my best Savior's Day.
Wow, amazing, amazing. Thank you for that. All right, so as we are wrapping up here, there was a question for you, Sister Naira, and it is, do you work with people one-on-one?
Absolutely. So yes, I do. You can actually go on my website and you can actually book a one-on-one session with me at www.repairoftheblackfamily.com. All right. And awesome. Yeah, I love doing it.
There you go. And I'm sure they didn't ask, but I'm sure that if they wanted to invite you for a group, they would do the same thing.
Absolutely. And okay. Of course, you know, we're in shelter in place right now, right? So right. We'll be on the webinars. You know, I do webinars, seminars, and as a matter of fact, we have something coming up next Tuesday. So.
Okay. Awesome. All right. So, well, actually, now that we're still on you, can you tell us, do you have the information of how they can join on next Tuesday?
Yes, so just email me at repairoftheblackfamily.com. I'm sorry, repairoftheblackfamily@gmail.com, and I will send you the Zoom information, and we will be dealing with trauma, how to handle the negative effects that we are experiencing in this time, how to be present, how to stay in communication with yourself and others, those types of things. Okay. Dealing with the mind, all dealing with the mind.
Awesome, thank you. And Sister Elia, this one is for you. You had mentioned something about domestic violence on yesterday. And the person wants to know, do you deal with women with domestic violence? And if so, how do they get more information?
Right, okay. I don't deal with the women in the aspect that I am going to be dealing with them. And I say that to say right now, when I finally got to this place in my life where I know that I'm destined to help battered women or those that experience domestic violence, then it was actually during the quarantine time. Well, we're still in quarantine, but when it's just started. And I broke down in tears. So it's fairly new right now. The best that I'm doing right now is creating awareness. Okay, and I've been actually answering some questions because I've been doing a lot of research on it. And I've been answering some questions for some phone calls that I've been getting from sisters in regards to, you know, where do I go? Who do I talk to? And I've been just basically connecting them with the other sources that can help them. But if you're someone, whoever's asking the question, if you're someone that is dealing with this, please feel free. You can give me a call because I do have a whole list of connections. We have sisters right in the ranks that are more than ready to help you in this area. And also you can call the domestic violence hotline. That number is 1-800-799-7233. And my personal number is 305-407-6752. So, you know, feel free to give us a call if you have any questions or concerns regarding this. You're not alone. You are not alone. I can't say that enough. There are people ready and willing to help you. So, yes.
Praise be to Allah.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much for that. And we'll actually make it our last question for tonight, and we'll roll the rest of them over on tomorrow. And it is, where is it? Last question is, let me find it. What is the role of the present day Mary as it relates to the Christ?
Ooh.
I know that's not all at one time, Mary.
I would love to address that,
Mm-hmm.
sister. And again, I think Sister Naira said it yesterday. My role on a personal level is to be a bearer of witness. I had it wasn't a personal, but it was myself and a small group meeting. Had an opportunity to have an audience with the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. And I know that he has said to us in large forums about his departure, and that he will be leaving, and that he would be gone for 3 years, and that he will make a return, similar to the story of Christ. And all I can do is bear witness. He looked directly at me. So this wasn't in a big form. He looked at me and he said to me, Sister Kava, I am going away for 3 years, but I will return. Will you wait for me? Will you be there when I return? That was from his mouth to me, direct. And so as it relates to that, yes, I still stand and say, yes, by Allah's permission, by Allah's will, yes. I wanted to put that in with Brother Michael's question, because I think it's very, very relevant in terms of the sisterhood, and our role is to be a model. So if I answered yes, and if there were 6 or 9 Marys in the biblical sense, when 6 at the cross, again, those are just a prototype of them. So when I answer yes, I feel like I'm duty bound to not just be standing there yes alone. So to those sisters, so Brother Michael said, what are we doing? I am making a personal appeal, using my voice as I am blessed to be the instructors for sisters, new sisters who are coming in. I'm saying to you, go to NOI.org, July 4th, 11 a.m. Eastern Time, and listen to the criterion, listen to the voice of God, listen to the Jesus in our midst. Come as you are. Jesus said you can come as you are. I don't care if you got on booty shorts. I don't care if you smoking weed. I don't care if you are in the trap house. I don't, if they got cable in the trap house, tune in. Put it on your iPhone. Tune in. So I'm saying to my sisters, we love you wherever it is that you are. What I am today is only a reflection of who you are, really, your nature. And so as it relates to the Christ, we stand, but we can't stand alone when we come to the Christ. We're to bring the multitudes to the Christ. So I'm asking my sisters to join me at Calvary. Join me on the front line so that we can stand as a solid wall bearing witness to the Christ that's in our midst today. So that's what I wanted to share.
Thank you. Thank you. Who else?
Sister Allison, if I can touch on that too, you know, and that was beautiful, Sister Kava. When I think about Mary, right, the Mary of old, and the Bible says that she was a handmaiden. Well, a handmaiden was a servant. That's a servant. And I think what we can learn, one of the things along with what our dear Sister Kava said, is basically we can learn to be a servant to Christ. You know, a servant, you're serving, you're doing whatever is needed that the Christ is asking. You know, so yes, we have to bear witness. We also have to get out there and we have to give the message, you know, anything of servitude. We got to, you know, just try to be at his beck and call, whatever it is. You know, we as women, we have no problem with being humble. We have no problem. I mean, you heard of the Mary that was down there washing his, you know, Jesus's feet with her hair. You know, we were made to be in complete servitude to God. So the Christ, if you're the Christ representing God, we are a complete humility, you know, humbleness to him. You know what I'm saying? And you can't be arrogant. You can't be egotistical and be a servant. I mean, your humility can take you far. So we have to be humble to be able to be a servant. Whatever it is that he needs, we're there. We're the nurturers. You know, we're the protectors. That's why we were there at the cross. We're there to the end. We are there to the end. How can I serve you? What do you need? That is what we can learn from the Marys of old, since they were a prototype of what we are to be today. Praise be to Allah.
Thank you. Praise be to Allah.
Yes. I wanted to share something from the study guides, if I may.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am. And this is from study guide 19B. And absolutely love this. You know, the minister had dismissed all, you know, labels of inferiority, of course, with women, that we can rise as high as our God-given talent, you know. So, but he mentions it mentions in the introduction, beyond the physical and literal virgin lost to most women, he said that the Black woman can become the spiritual Virgin Mary, a truthful woman, a woman untouched by the need to be validated by a man. Because remember, Mary shielded herself from men, you know, that she wasn't in need of, oh, I got to be out there. Can you see me? A woman who cannot be overpowered by emotion or seduced or humiliated, a woman who measures her self-worth through the thinking of Allah God. So if Allah God says, I look beautiful covered, can I be, as Sister Elia mentioned, humble enough to put aside some of the things that I want to do to serve and to be one of the witness bearers and examples and be that second self of Allah God to help us reach people, you know? So he mentions that, so we have to be that, we can be that spiritual Virgin Mary, a truthful woman, a woman not needed to be validated by men, and that we judge who measures her self-worth through the thinking of Allah God. And we know that Allah God thinks of us up here. So that's how we can refer to ourselves, that a nation can rise no higher than its woman, as the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said.
Yes,
Beautiful.
yes, beautiful.
Yes, ma'am. Beautiful.
Sister Allison, thank you for that question, because I know for me, it put me in a moment of reflection for myself personally. And I would say, as Mary's women of God, you know, we have to be in a position willing to submit to be healed physically and mentally, being healed. I know that Mary in the Bible, Jesus healed her of infirmities, which means being healed physically and mentally. I know that demons was cast out of her, you know. As Mary's that's walking with Christ now, not only do we have to cast the demons out of ourselves, but we have to be able enough to be in a position to help cast demons out of others, you see, so that Christ can knock on our hearts and come in and sup with us.
Yes.
There's a true healing, a true purging that has to take place with the woman, because she is the second self of God. And I thank Allah for the teachings of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. I have found nothing on this planet that can purge us the way that the teachings of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad and the guidance of the honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan that can heal the Black woman.
That's right.
And all of humanity on the planet Earth. And I thank Allah for the honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, because this man and everything that he has given us is divine. He's given us a technology to help us to do it faster. And I bear witness as his student with the use of the technology of Dianetics, it will help us to do it faster. I know this because he told me so. He says, Sister Nayera, thank you, Sister Kava, for sharing your experience, because I don't think I would be open enough to share if you wouldn't have shared your experience. Just one of the conversations, he said, as you are out helping to clear our people, tell them you found what I found. That which will help us to be better helpers to the most, he said, the Honorable Elijah, the messenger, I'm sorry, the Master Farad Muhammad, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and now this is me talking, I'm including him. And ultimately, we would be better for one another. So as I think about the position of the Mary that, you know, I feel like I'm still walking through that position in space where there's levels to my healing. There's levels, and I thank Allah for the ability to bow down and pray. But when I get up, Allah gives me the ability to change my own condition. He says that Allah does not change the condition of a people until the people can change the condition of themselves. So with this technology, we have an opportunity to do it faster. And I know that the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said he don't know not one Black person that doesn't need it. So as an example of his student, one that truly striving to follow him and asking the three men to take over my mind, I would say that the Black woman, we have to be willing to submit to a process of healing by whichever means that is for you. Be willing to be healed. I have just found that using the technology of Dianetics has helped me to do it faster. And I've seen miracles, not just for myself, but helping others. So that's why you see Sister Nayera, she's an advocate for it, because my father gave it to us. And I think to being able to be one of his disciples, to bear witness of that man, it belongs to us. So I would say to the Black woman, if we can be healed, we're going to be one of the ones at the forefront to be able to stand with Christ and be whole again.
Yes. Yes.
Full and complete wholeness. It's a process to this, and there's levels to your healing. So we can never be in a position to say that we have arrived, and that's where that wholeness comes in. So may Allah bless us with the light of understanding and the compassion for one another to understand each other.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes.
That's
Thank
right.
you. Thank
That's
you so
right.
much for sharing that. I think Sister Iman, did you get a chance to hear the question? Can you hear us? Let's see, is she back? No? Okay.
She looked back. I'm hanging on wings. We're gonna have to go with her
I can
tomorrow because I
hear
was hanging on her
Yeah.
last words.
Yeah, because she was dropping some.
Okay,
She was
yes.
dropping some good
We can
times.
hear
We gotta
you.
hear
It's
that
still kind
again.
of breaking up a little bit, but we hear you. Uh-oh, now we can't. Now we can't. So you know,
Tell her come down off that frequency, Sister Alice. You know that's what it is. She gotta
Can you hear me?
point it in a little bit. She's too
okay,
powerful.
now I can. Now I can.
Can you see and hear? Oh, sorry.
Yes. Your picture is frozen, but it's okay. We can still hear you.
Yeah. Ooh. You can hear me now. Wow.
Yes.
Okay. Oh my goodness. It better not be frozen on a crazy looking. The question was
Yes.
about the modern day Mary.
Yes. What?
And her role with the modern Christ. Is that right?
Yes, that's correct.
Can you hear?
Uh-oh. No. We're not going to even have you to attempt it because the sisters is already like hanging on your every word.
I can't hear anything now. Can you all?
Oh, wow.
Can you all hear me?
It's breaking up really bad.
I think it's a no.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. Well, maybe we'll save it for tomorrow.
Okay, let's do that because we don't want to miss. We don't want to miss anything here. So
nothing.
I will say this, and it was so exciting.
Okay, yes, ma'am.
And loving, and it leads me into a perfect segue of how we even got started with this today. And I think I shared with maybe it was Sister Naira. I stay kind of in a constant type conversation or meditation, if you will, with Allah. Most times I am than when I'm not. And just in a constant gratitude and love and appreciation. And I kind of have to be because I do readings all the time. So that frequency kind of feeds me all day long. And so this particular night, though, I asked Allah for my own encounter. So I have encounters because I do readings for other people, but I wanted my own kind of special thing to happen with him and I. And so in my dream state, what we call dream state, the experience that I had with him, it was actually two beings there. And this large being took a sheet of paper and a pen and he wrote something on it. And then he slid it across the table for me to look at what he wrote. The word that he wrote was Abba, A-B-B-A. So I had never heard of this word before. So of course, as soon as I woke up, I looked up the word because Google knows everything. So I Googled this word to find out what it means. And it literally means, it's an Aramaic word and it means father. It's the word father for God. And as I researched it, it was interesting in the Hebrew form of it, it was only used by two people, Jesus and Paul. And it was a very affectionate thing between them and God to establish what type of relationship that they had. And I thought that that was quite interesting, where a few days later, I wasn't even thinking about that anymore. But a few days later, it came in, the Spirit say, tell them, you, Mary, tell them. So it wasn't for me per se, not just me, but it was for the Marys. He wanted the Marys to know that I'm that for you. Whatever you need, you just call on me. And that most pure and affection and love and gratitude, like a father would have love for his daughter. And so that is how this thing, and it was, I mean, everything came. Have a forum, call it Mary Come Forth. Okay, yes, sir. Invite Audrey, Naira, Elia, and Iman. Those were the original ones, right? Something still wasn't like, I don't know if anybody who is listening, who's had the energy of something to come up. I don't know if you experienced this, Sister Audrey, when you're writing something and it's there, like the energy of it is there, you kind of get it, but you know something is missing, like it's not kind of forming all the way. And then I had a conversation with Sister Kava, and just like that, it was like, that's it. That's it, Sister Kava. So I think it's very interesting. And these women, I don't know fully what Allah's goal is. I can't say that I do. I don't know what his intention is for each of the women that's here on this panel, but I know he knows. And it's such a beautiful experience. As I was reflecting on the women this morning as I was waking up, what I saw was a bouquet of purple roses. All of them were purple. So it's interesting that we're talking about the sisterhood and how we're all different, but yet all of these, and we are all different, we all bring a certain aspect of the God, but all of these roses were purple, which we know means royal, right? This high status and standard. That is what the God thinks of each and every Mary. And he knows his Mary. He's numbered every last one of us. So I don't care where you are right now. I don't care if you just left the bar. I don't care if you are walking around with whatever type of shorts on. I don't care what it is. God has you and has numbered you. You're like in his book, an account of every last one of his Marys. And maybe some type of way the women on this panel are here to help you, to serve you. We all are servants. That's it. But I pray that something that came from the heart of each one of these women that you recognize, because I definitely recognize it, it came from the heart of God. You didn't really hear Naira, Audrey, Elia, and Kava, and Iman. You did not. You may have thought you heard them, but what you heard is the voice of God. And we are only here as an example for the Marys to say, if you open your heart to him, because you don't need an intercessor to God. You don't. If you open your heart to him, he will take you over and put you in places that your mind can't even comprehend.
Teach.
And you think that, I'm telling you, I hope you're ready to be ambassadors of the world, because that is what he has called you for. When you talk about the role of Mary and the part that everybody has a part to play, we got every element. We got the fire element, the water element, the air element. But we will establish this kingdom for our Father. We will do that.
That's right.
And he will be the winner of this whole thing. He already the winner.
That's right.
He just said, Mary, okay, you come forth. Let me work this thing through you. And we're not leaving out our brothers, but there's something that he wants to touch in the Black woman in particular. He is waiting on us to show himself through us. So it don't matter what you're going through. It don't matter what's happening in your life right now. Nothing is more important than establishing the kingdom. There's no coincidence that we all are here in this dispensation of time. So I don't care how rough it gets. I don't care what it looks like. When you look at Mary, and we talked a little bit about it on yesterday, when we show up, there's a certain thing that we show up with: the compassion, the love, the strength, and the courage and the fearlessness. We have the ability to come together as women and put a circle of fire around this devil and tell him no more on my God's planet.
That's right. That's right.
That's right.
That's not kneeling and obeying to the Father has to go. And however you show up, Mary, we need all the Marys. We need the compassion. We need the water. We need the fire. But he needs us, sisters. He needs us to open our hearts to him and let him work through us and show up. Because when you talk about Mary, okay, we went over past, present, future, being perfect. He's the only one that can do that.
That's right.
Nobody else can do that for us.
That's
so
right.
we looking at the Mary from the past. Yeah, she's a prototype. But we're taught, Dawn of Elijah Muhammad came with the knowledge from the God himself. He came to break the cycle, the circle of the scientists. What does that mean? When the scientists was writing about the history, they saw Master Farad Muhammad coming and couldn't write past it. They couldn't see past his life. So we're living in a time that the scientists can't even see. That's how special we are to him. We don't represent no doom and gloom, but we will put our royal purple coats on and serve as an ambassador to this planet. It is our time.
That's right.
So let's show up for the God. And I invite you all. Now, I just got in this. But Sister Elia mentioned something very special that her and Sister Naira is doing, and maybe many others. And I wanted to invite the Marys to do whatever you can, and that is fasting up until we hear from the Christ of the day. So I am going to go 3 days up until the day. I believe Sister Elia is doing it now, and Sister Naira, however many days that you're going to do. Whatever you can do, we are going with an open heart.
That's right.
We're asking Allah to heal the land on our behalf. He will do it.
Come on.
He will do it.
Yes.
So this is how we step forth. Marys, it's time. So I'm asking everybody that's able to do it. Actually, put it in the comments. If you're on Facebook, say I'm
That's
in.
right. Come on,
I'm
y'all.
in. You want to be a witness bearer to say, hey, I was up there. I was there. And I participated.
Amen.
That's right.
And what was going on. So if you can fast, praise be to Allah. Let us know that you're going to be fasting with us until we hear from the Christ.
That's right.
Pray for his safety.
Yes.
Pray for his divine guidance. And we stand in ranks to say we ready.
That's right.
That's right.
So we ready to let and allow the God to make us over to this perfect being is what we're ready for.
Right.
Like Sister Naira was saying, allow ourselves to be cleansed, and then we stand in ranks with the Christ of the day.
That's right.
Right.
So that I wanted to share that. That's how Mary come forth. That's how it was birthed. That's how it was given to me. And I'm so honored to be a part of the panel of women that's here. I am honored that Allah will find any type of utility in me. to use me.
Come on,
I am most
Thank
grateful for that.
Mhm.
And
Yes,
I look
ma'am.
forward to the women who were on the panel and the women that are listening. But I want to see how God used you. He's not a God. He don't make no extra human being. So that's
Come on.
everybody that's listening to the
Come on
panel.
now.
But the one he called to be a part of Mary Come Forth, I look forward to see what he's going to do in your life and how
Yes,
you open
yes.
up and serve the women of God. I am so ready. I know we went
Wait for
supposed to end at 8. I wanted to express that, and we still had some more questions, and so those are going to go over till tomorrow. Everybody tune in till tomorrow, because microcosm, macrocosm. You can't talk about the Christ and leave the black man out. So we're
That's
going to have the black
right.
man's perspective on
right.
tomorrow. So definitely make sure that you tune in for tomorrow.
Yeah.
Mary Come Forth. And we're going to have some male guys on here to balance the energy out a little bit.
So-called Father's Day, the Abba Day, right?
Right. We're going to have the fathers representing. The fathers of civilization going to be
That's
on
right.
here
Come on,
tomorrow
come on.
to
That's
represent
right.
the black man. So praise be
That's
to Allah.
right.
I love you all, sisters.
Love
And
you.
everybody,
Love you too.
I cannot see the comments. I don't
We
know
love
if
you
any comments
too.
came in, but tomorrow, if there are any questions in the comments, we'll get to them tomorrow, inshallah.
That's right.
Thank you
Thank you
so
all.
much.
Thank
Love
you.
you all.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for
Love
allowing
you
me
Forward
all.
to seeing you tomorrow.
Good night.
Thank you,
Assalamu alaikum.
Allison.
Alaikum
Alaikum salam.